Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you're all keeping well. Today I'm going to talk about becoming lucid in daily life. So one of the things I enjoy doing is lucid dreaming. And this is something that just kind of tends to happen by itself a few times every month. Well, that I become aware that I'm dreaming. And because of that being aware that I'm dreaming, there can be that, there can be that sense of control over the dream. And also, and more importantly, becoming lucid in a dream it kind of really creates that sense of wonder within the dream. It's like that kind of wow, this is a dream. This is amazing. How kind of, especially when you start kind of doing things like checking out how realistic it can be. So in the past, I've done things like like eating things in the dream, and it can really be very, very convincing. Because I enjoy lucid dreaming so much, in the past I've kind of looked into all of these different techniques, and there's plenty of techniques out there, and some of them are very good. But what I've kind of noticed myself is I don't tend to lucid dream any more regularly if I'm practicing a technique or not. Because the way I tend to become lucid is that I just notice something odd going on in the dream, and that tips me off. Oh, I must be dreaming. So, and it can be something, I don't know, for example, like, I don't know, my wife turns into my grandmother or something, and my mind goes, oh, this is obviously a dream. And as soon as that happens, suddenly it kind of really opens up that sense of wonder at especially at how realistic everything can be. And one of the things I used to do, I used to be really kind of hung up on controlling the dream, because that's something you kind of, you can do to a certain degree. But what I found was that, while having a kind of some things to do within the dream would keep it going, that if I became too hung up on something kind of interesting happening, it would often just kind of end it, and it would wake me up. So what I started to do, and what I do now, is to just appreciate whatever's there within the dream, and to really kind of give my full attention to it. Now, this ability to become lucid in a dream is also something that we start to be able to develop in daily life. And what I mean by waking up, by becoming lucid in the dream, in waking life, is that we suddenly become aware of how incredible everything is, how amazing everything is. And for me, the secret to that is this recognition of the oddness of life. We take life very, very much for granted, but the whole thing is incredibly odd. We just, and when you start to become aware of how odd it is, it just kind of, it tends to, it baffles me how anyone could not see it. And this is something I kind of recognized as a child. I remember as a child being like this and being very kind of almost disturbed, actually, by how adults were just kind of taking everything for granted. The whole thing just seemed like a completely mental to me, the whole thing about being alive and all the stuff that was happening in life. And yet people walking around as if it's the most normal thing in the world. But everything in life is incredibly odd when you and just waking up to that, the recognition of that, the recognition that we're on this huge rock, apparently flying through space, and there's a big, other huge rock in the sky that that's made of fire. Just kind of recognizing that how absurd all of that is. It opens us up to the wonder of life again. It actually makes us lucid. And and it took me so long to realize, but it was that sense of wonder, and I've talked about this before in other videos, it was that sense of wonder that I so yearned for, for most of my life, and it's what drew me to things like alcohol, to try, because initially it seemed to kind of rekindle that sense of wonder. But that sense of wonder can be just as easily kind of achieved, and more easily achieved, by just recognizing how odd everything is. And that's, and once you kind of do that for a while, it kind of sticks. That it's this kind of recognition that, wow, this whole thing, trees are crazy, chairs are crazy, everything kind of really, really bizarre. And, you know, and seeing it that way, it just makes everything seem incredibly meaningful. And it automatically kind of really grounds us and makes life satisfying. So the key to becoming lucid then in daily life is, first of all, like, you know, like I say to people, the first thing we have to do is to kind of get ourselves grounded. You know, because this is often quite difficult to do if we're trying to do it from a kind of normal state of consciousness. So we kind of learn to kind of ground ourselves by, say, focusing on the body or whatever, or focusing on breathing, whichever kind of works for us. And then just kind of look around, take in the surroundings, and just kind of recognize how odd, how strange everything is. And right away, that kind of brings us into a sense of wonder. Now talking about this might not sound like such a big thing, but it's doing this and doing this repeatedly. And I promise people, if you do this, it'll really, it right away brings you to a very, very different way of perceiving, a kind of much more childish way of perceiving, which, you know, I do believe is what a lot of us are actually kind of yearning for, or at least it's a huge part of what we're yearning for. And just by practicing, you know, that kind of perception, eventually it kind of becomes who we are. It becomes, you know, I don't have to practice this. It just be, you know, I find myself doing it, you know, sometimes more than other times, but it's also kind of always there. It kind of, you know, it really changes a relationship with this whole life, and everything becomes much more dreamlike. Not in a dysfunctional way, in a wonderful way. 'Cause I think that may be a fear people have. Oh, that sounds kind of crazy, and if I start kind of doing things like that, will I end up in a mental asylum, or on a psychiatric ward? I mean, in my experience, that certainly wasn't the case. This is what made me sane. You know, it was before when I couldn't see the wonder, when I couldn't see how odd everything was, that I was a bit insane. So that's it for today, guys. You know, as always, leave a comment, give an old like, and if you want, subscribe. And thanks very much for watching. See you again. Bye bye.